Good afternoon, Nkositalkshows family. It's Nomsa here at Nkositalkshows. Find your own voice, lead from within. So, with me today, I am with Amanda Marie and Grant Morrell. How are you guys?
Ready to be here, excited
Oh,
for this topic. I like the topic that we're talking about today that Grant picked.
Awesome, awesome. The topic today is success made easy following your natural path. Success feels easy when you stop force fitting yourself into someone else's blueprint and start building your own natural wiring. Your values, your strength, energy patterns, curiosity, and lived story. This topic today, we are going to help you align what you do with who you are so you can progress, become smoother, momentum compounds, and results feel meaningful, not draining. And you can use it like a playbook, take one step at a time, test, learn, iterate. Grant, you chose this topic. What was the motivation behind it?
yeah. Yeah. There's a subject that came up about, and I'm going to let you guys talk about it first of all, to see what it means to you first of all, and I'll just sort of jump in a little bit longer. Okay.
Well, when I look at the topic, I think about how like each of us has our own strengths, right? And something that we like really like and enjoy doing seems to be like a natural path, right? And so I had one friend who like wasn't doing a really great job at their job and got let go of a position. And they were really like upset about it. And I was like, okay, but like maybe that's not your strength, right? Like if I had to be in sales, that would not be my strength. I'm like, I'm really good at at teaching, right? Selling is not my strength. If I had to go out and schmooze clients all the time and like be on and be like out socializing and drinking, I would not be good at that because that's not my strength at all. I like working with kids. I like creating really creative projects. I like working with technology. I like having some like downtime by myself to just like focus on like creative ideas that come to me. And if I was in a sales position, I probably would get fired. Even though I'm really good at my job, which is teaching and like working with kids and being mindful and being creative, those are my strengths. If you put me in a situation that was not my natural path at all, which would be like some sort of extroverted job, I would not be good at it. And it would feel like I'm like butting heads or like just like hitting a wall constantly because that's not my natural like tendency, right? My tendency is always to be like doing something creative or working with children or like every job I've ever had has been some sort of teaching in some capacity other than like when I worked at a um a golf course. I was like, did the flowers, but I found like lots of meaningful stuff in like gardening that I can then bring into my teaching. And I used to be a swimming instructor and lifeguard, so that's like teaching. And then I was like, I ran a bunch of camps and it's teaching. So all of my jobs that I've ever like felt lots of success in has been in some sort of teaching role, right? So that seems to be like my more natural path is like leading and guiding children and adults too. And then I look at other people and I'm like, wow, it's just like effortless to sell things, right? Or to like do what it is that they do in technology or in engineering or whatever it is that's their natural strength. And I think when we just like follow some of the things that we've always loved to do as children, if we don't know what our path is, then if we look back to like things that we really love to do or what are our strengths, we'll find our path more naturally and find success easier than trying to like butt heads with like if I had to be a doctor or something, I'd be terrible at it because like I don't like blood and I don't like throw up and anything like that. Like if a kid throws up in my classroom, I'm like, oh, oh. And the class, I'm like, this is the worst. We have to leave. We have to leave the classroom, or like everyone's going to be sick because I'm going to be sick too. Right. So if I had to be a doctor and be around that all the time, I would fail miserably. So I think when we're following our natural path, it's like things that we naturally are drawn to. And if we don't know what they are, look at what you were drawn to as a child. What do you think, Tomsa?
Yeah, I think you're right, Amanda, when you say your strength is to like help children rise, adult rise, because we all have our own strength in life. Not everyone is meant to do everything. So we all have to know where our strength is. We all have our strength in everything. Like I like when you say you know naturally where your strength is. Some people they know where their strength is, but sometimes they'll go and try to do something else that is not truly their strength. For me, my strength is just like helping people rising. I just like to see people uh believing that they are enough and they can be who they want to be. And I just love that, helping people. Say anything to do with psychology is just me. Anything to do with just listening to people's problems and being able to leave a solution for them so they can take their life to the next level. There's some things like when LinkedIn, I meet people, they try to say, Nomsa, uh, we have a business on the side, a hustle on the side. I know if it's not for me, it's not for me. I don't do it. So I don't even try because I know that is not me. I know what I'm destined to be to do. So I think that is really important for those who wants to succeed in life, to actually, like Amanda, you said, go back to your childhood, name your North Star, your values and your vision, and just filter those decisions, write down your vision points, how you want your values, and then it just make a decision best. There's some people who know who they're supposed to be, but because of the society, they get scared. Even their parents, they get scared to become who they're meant to become because they want to please their parents, they want to please the society. When you go to church, you behave in a certain way, you get told this is how you behave. But unfortunately, in my church, we don't get told that, like to say, our church is this, is this. Our pastor just tells us, go and read the Bible. Don't make any stories to say this. You change your life by creating your own. Don't expect me to touch your head and say things are going to get better. They don't get better unless you do something about your life. So over to you, Grant. I would love to hear your what you have for us and the audience.
Okay, thanks, Nonsa. Well, yeah, I forever see people going through life trying to achieve things which are so against the grain for them, and they are making life so hard for themselves. They're trying to do something often to live up to other people's expectations, not their own. So they're living their life really for somebody else, which sounds an honourable thing, but the problem is when you do something that's not in your natural flow, you'll never really achieve great performance. And if you do, you're really burning a lot of energy doing it. So think of it like a car that's out of tune. Um, it's struggling, it's burning too much fuel, and it needs maintenance more quickly. Well, we know that happens with a car, but yet when it comes to ourselves, we ignore it and we do things which are against the grain. And that's stressful. When people do it, it's stressful. And it's really not a successful trait at all. So when I see this, it stands out to me very quickly when I see people doing it. And quite often, when it comes to managing teams, building teams, it's about finding people who are working in their flow and following their natural path. And that way, success becomes so much easier. And this is one of the fundamentals. And that's just really what I wanted to share, just to think about that and to raise people's awareness to it and to understand where they're not playing to the strengths, where they're playing it to the weaknesses. Now, there's nothing wrong with learning to do things that you don't want to do, but you just have to do. There's nothing wrong with the discipline of being able to do it if you need to, but that doesn't mean to say you should do it all the time. It's not where your best work's going to come from. And that was my point. And I guess you must, Amanda, see this in kids at school when they're kind of doing that thing. Yeah, they're following the various roles, might be an activity or something, and you can start to see the talent in some people show through in one area and maybe not in another area, but everybody excels somewhere, and you pick that up. Is that right?
Yeah, absolutely. There's kids that are so like naturally inclined to some things and then not to others. And it's really interesting. I do like a robotics project or a building with Lego project or something like that. The kids that like struggle to write a sentence sometimes completely excel in like a robotics project. And the kids who are like normally so successful with the pencil and paper work really struggle with the robotics project or like a building type of project. And those kids that always feel successful are not feeling so successful. And those kids that always feel like they're not good enough at writing or reading or whatever it is are start to feel successful in these like building tasks. And so it's so interesting how we're like naturally inclined to certain areas for sure. And I also see like kids who are very outgoing and I'm like, you're gonna be a really great salesman one day, right? Like you're just gonna know how to like move and shake things to get people to do what it is that you want. So you'll be so successful in some sort of extroverted career. And it's just so amazing to see kids' personalities so young. And that is like I try to always encourage them to like follow their natural path. And I had one student like years ago. It was probably my second or third year of teaching. And I had given her this award at the end of the year because I was teaching grade 6 and it was like their graduation. And I said she was like got the award for like um she was most likely, oh, it was most likely to be. So it was most likely to be a nurse in the future so she could tend to her constant injuries because she always had like her arm wrapped up with something or like she always had some sort of injury. And then years later, I ran into her and she was like just going into university. And I was like, what are you taking? And she's like, I'm going to be a nurse, just like you said in grade 6. And I was like, oh, it just like made my day because like sometimes they just yeah are so inspired by something that you say. And this was a kid that probably could have ended up like pregnant and on the streets at a very young age and she didn't, and that like just completely warmed my heart. So I think sometimes when we like follow our natural path or we have somebody that just like pushes us in that direction a little bit and believes in us, then we're so much more likely to achieve and to have success made more easily when we know that somebody believed in us.
Yeah, I think that's you are right, Amanda. When you have that one person that believes in you, it makes a really, really big difference. And most of the teachers, sometimes the teachers, they don't know that they are, whatever they say to our children become that. Because I remember when my daughter was 2, when she started going to her dance lessons, and then when we left that dance school, moving to Henley, and this dance teacher said to Hope, please, whatever you do, don't stop dancing because you are a very, very gifted child. You just keep going no matter what. And she never stopped. And now she's actually doing it professional. It's just that one word that someone say to you. And even when we went to London once to the finals, and mommy took the wrong music, and she went on stage, and when she went on stage, they played the wrong music. She went, what's going on? And she went, that's the wrong music. So because they all stopped, the judges, and she was like to the judges, don't worry, I know the song, the dance by heart. I can dance without music. So she danced till the end, and one of the judges was coming from Doctor Who, and he just called her on the side and said, you know what? You just proved to the world that you can actually shine without the music. So don't stop dancing or acting. You're very good. Um, and it's all to do with the people around you. Whatever people say, those around you, they can help you to write your story, or they can destroy you. Everything is important to make sure that you are surrounded by the right people, because whatever the words that people say, it can destroy you. I've met people that tell me that, Noms, I'm not good enough, or I'm not this. I'm like, when did you figure that out? They're like, I cannot get into a relationship. I was hurt. I was told I'm this, I'm this. I'm like, what do you think about yourself then? If I'm coming to you, I'm saying to Grant, you're not good enough. What does Grant say? Grant tells Noms a bugger off. I'm good enough. I don't have authority to say you're not good enough.
Oh, no, but you're right. It's about finding people to support you. And I think that's one of the key things, is if you can find the right people around you, that's so important. Now, there's a balance here, because if you ever watch some TV shows that will remain nameless, when they're talking about talent, and everyone says, oh, my family like me. And I say, yeah, your family always says you're good because they love you. But don't listen to that, because that's right. And it's very true, because you don't want people who just say, oh, you're fantastic. Wow, you're great. Even when you're not, because you get deluded. There's a balance between finding people who are honest with you, but have your best interests at heart, who do it, but without putting you down. That's the important. Supportive, but supportive. I don't even like the word criticism, but a more observation is better. As long as they have a qualified viewpoint. You don't ask if you're going to be a carpenter, perhaps ask carpenters how good your carpentry is. Don't ask someone who knows nothing about it. Yeah, ask someone who's relative to that. But as long as they're supportive and they genuinely have your best interest at heart, that's what you can have. And that is a key thing, to surround yourself with people like that, who are not going to lie to you and delude you, but equally they have your interest at heart. They do want you to succeed, and they're respectfully pointing things out in your purpose to try to help you. That's not an easy thing to find. Often it doesn't come all in one package. So we have to have a little bit of resilience sometimes, because the people who want the best for you don't necessarily have the greatest way of conveying it. They're doing the best they can with what they've got, but then maybe not be given the skills of diplomacy. But if you can find those people, that is beautiful, because they bring out the very best in you, but while not letting you fail, but also by encouraging you to do the best you can. And that's a great combination. So really, it's easier said than done. So how do you find those people? Because it is vital to the ingredients, and then that allows you to do what you do best. And sometimes you have to tell people that's not really your thing. You're on the wrong path. There's indications out there, like sometimes if we keep doing something and it keeps going wrong, and why does this keep going wrong? Sometimes there's some kind of a message. They're like, this is not your thing. This is not your thing. Pay attention. Pay attention and listen. It's almost like something out there in the ether just puts it in front of you, just to trip you up so that you pay attention and realize it's not really your main thing. If you're aware, if you pay attention to that, you may be able to be okay at it. Think of a musician. Yeah, there might be a musician who can play several instruments. Some do. Couple, well, maybe one pretty badly, another one all right, and another one they excel at. Well, what's the thing about what you're bad at? What's that really telling you? It's not your thing. Now that's kind of obvious because you can hear it quite clearly, right? But what about the rest of your life? What about the rest of your business? Where are you playing three instruments and you're not spending enough time on the one you excel at? So that's the way I would urge people to look at it, so that everybody's playing in tune, they're playing in flow, and they are enjoying themselves. Because after all, this life is about enjoying the journey. Okay. And I know, it doesn't mean to say that if you just slightly dislike something, no, you never do it. Of course not. We all have certain disciplines we need to do. But as I say, get it in perspective. They're not the things you're going to focus most of your life on. What's the thing you need to focus on most to give you the greatest pleasure and the greatest impact and the greatest reward of what you do? Think of those things, draw a circle around them. And that's where you should focus most of, not all, but most of your attention is what I think. But yeah, I'm going to bring this back to Amanda and schools because I mean, where you see kids, so this one must come up all the time. You see kids who are clearly better at some things than others. Let's say they're not good at maths or English, right? Let's say they're not particular, but it's kind of essential that they have a grounding in that. How do you deal with that? How do you get that balance right?
Well, I always laugh when parents are like, well, I want them to be putting in 100% effort into their schoolwork. And I'm like, well, do you put 100% effort into everything you do? And they look at me and I'm like, do you spend like 100% effort cleaning your toilet? And they look at me and I'm like, well, see, like we want them to spend like enough effort that it like gets done, right? We don't want a disgusting bathroom, but we want them to have like this grounded like understanding. But we want them to spend like the majority of their effort, like you were saying, on something that they feel the most successful at. That's where you should be spending all of your energy, right? Because if you are really successful in one area, you can hire people to do other things, right? And so if math isn't your really great strength, we need to know a basis amount of math so that we know if our accountant is screwing us, right? But we don't need to know all the ins and outs of being an accountant because we have our other focuses, right? And so I don't know all the ins and outs of being an accountant, but I know like the basics of like checking my accounts and looking at my stocks and looking at different things to see is my like investments growing, right? And so when we're looking at kids, we want to be like, okay, we still need to be able to write an email, right? Like, or a text message or have some sort of way to apply for a job. So you need to be successful enough at writing that you can do these things. Do we need to be able to be successful enough at writing that you're going to write an entire book? No, right? Or maybe in the future, if that's something that you want to focus on. But we need to make you successful enough that you can survive in the world with like being able to send text messages, being able to send emails, being able to write a list of what you have to do at the grocery store, right? But then let's spend the majority of your effort focusing on something that you feel successful in it and build your confidence in that. And so I always say to kids when they like don't really love something at school, I'm like, that's okay. You don't have to love everything about school. You don't even have to love every subject. I'm like, I don't love teaching every subject. There's subjects that I love teaching more than others, but I still have to cover them in the curriculum. And so when I'm more passionate about something too, the kids see it too, right? And then they're going to have other teachers that are like really passionate about this area and they do like the best job of teaching that. I'm more passionate about like art and combining as much as I can, like pulling different pieces of the curriculum together so that you can see how it all fits holistically. That's kind of my strength. Whereas other people are like, maybe they have a really great science strength and they're really great at showing kids experiments. It's not necessarily, that's not my strength. I'll do experiments with the kids, but I'm not like super uber passionate about science experiments. But if I can tie in a science experiment to an art project and to a writing project and to some math and then like do something else with it, that's my strength. And so when I look at kids, I'm always like, okay, how can we get you to this baseline of like competence, right? So that you can spend the rest of your time focusing on things that you're truly passionate about. And that's where you'll find your success.
Yeah, I agree with Amanda, and I also agree with Grant that sometimes your family, when you're not good at something, they don't tell you, but not in this house. Me, my kids, we don't waste time with things we're not good at. Honestly, I tell my kids, and they're like, "Mommy, you're a bit harsh." I'm like, "Okay, if you want to do this, I get you a tutor. If you don't get good at it, because if it does not feel natural for a year, that means it's not for you. You have to move on. So most of the things that they do is the things that they love to do. It's most like acting, music, art, drama, anything to do with that area is the things that they like, swimming and things like that.
Yeah.
But also, we don't do things because our friends are doing it. We don't do that. We have to live our own life as individual, meet friends and have fun and say goodbye. So I like when Amanda say there are some things that children are not good at. There are some things I always make it very, very clear when I leave my child at school to say, listen, I'm not a parent that pushes. I want my children to do well at school, but at the same time, I want them to be normal. I don't want to, yeah, I just want them to be normal, to live a normal life. But they know that they need to work really hard for whatever they do. But at the same time, they need to have fun. There's got to be some fun out of it. Even the school, like when my oldest, like it's being too hard on herself, they'll be like, if your mom was here, what advice would she give you? And she'll be like, take it easy, just give myself credit for what I've done. And that's all I say to my children when you go, whether it's exams or whatever you do, give yourself credit. Don't be too hard. But sometimes I've seen parents, they push their children to do things like sometimes, and I'm thinking, I wouldn't be able to do that even if I was an adult, but that's what it is. Uh, Pushing the children like to say, give me 100%. I can't do that. Why would I expect my babies to give me 100%? So it doesn't. But Amanda, with my kids, if I make a deal with them, like every month you do well at school, you get like a reward. I always lose. I always lose. I'm like, by the end of the month, if your tutor gives you a compliment, like you've worked something very, very hard, you get rewarded. You get to choose what you want. What you want. I lose. I never win. I think that's why I manipulate my children just to do the work at school and not to play. So, but Grant, as you say, you have to be honest. If you love someone, you have to be honest if they're not good at something. And also, I think you have to know your calling as well. Whatever you do, what's your calling? You can't go go on Facebook and start becoming like this motivational speaker that is completely different. I'll be like, I said to the social service that day, I'm a Christian. What do you expect when I'm speaking? I'm bound to mention God when I'm speaking. So you can't want to design me how you want. So I said to her, forget it. You can forget it. You can tell these people that reported to me to forget it. This is my identity. Whether you take it, I said, tell them there's this button, scroll down. You scroll, you delete.
So,
But
so you're right. Yeah, it's about finding the qualities you're good at and being honest with people in the right way. But that's not to say, it's not to say that you can't do something okay or you can't do something for fun that you're not particularly good at. It's not to say that, but here's my question is that we all know that some people are really, really good at knowing what their strengths are, right? Really good at it. And some people just aren't gifted with that ability to know. They can't see what they're good at and they're missing the trick. And they can't see necessarily what they're not so great at. So how do you deal with that? How do you politely point this out to people? How do you steer them in the right direction by protecting their integrity and also allowing them just to grow and welcome the news, the information? How do you get people to do that when you find the people who just don't quite get what their weaknesses are or strengths? What do you do? What's the best techniques you can do to help those people?
I think one of the things to find their strength would be to ask, like, what is it that you really enjoy doing? What is it that you could do for hours and hours and not get tired of it? Right? And so, what is it that you really enjoy doing? I was listening to Mel Robbins' podcast yesterday when I was at the gym, and the lady was talking about this person who was like really focused, her daughter or something, who was really focused on like doing well at school and math and different things, but then at home would spend all this time focusing on baking. And they would like plan out what they were baking like days ahead of time. And the parent, I was like, hey, like maybe you should be looking into like baking as like some sort of career choice because you seem to like really love it and it seems to be like a passion of yours and it's not actually this like science-based focus. And so sometimes I think our society pushes us in a direction of like you should be a doctor or a lawyer, an accountant, a teacher, because these are careers that are like people see it as like valuable, I guess. But I think that's shifting. I think that's shifting a lot because we're now seeing that people can be so successful in lots of different entrepreneurial areas. And I think what we really need to do with children is and with young adults or even older adults who are like, I'm just not finding the passion in life is be like, what is it something that you really love to do? And I'm reading the book the 4 Hour Work Week right now. And just the part that I was at talked about how this like person with this MBA went on vacation in Mexico. And I've read this like scenario a couple of times in a couple of different books on like success. And it talks about how this guy with this MBA meets this fisherman and he's like talking to the fisherman about what he does for his life and he's like, oh, I go out, I catch a couple fish, I sell some, then I like go home and rest with my wife and like have a siesta with my wife and then we go out to the town and like do salsa dancing in the evenings and then like that's kind of my life. And the guy with the MBA is like, well, I can help you grow your business and then you'll have like this fleet of ships and then after like 10 to 15 years you'll get to this point and then you can sell your business for $1 million and then the fisherman's like and then what? And then he's like and then you can retire and you'll have millions of dollars in the bank and you can have siestas with your wife and go and catch a couple fish each day and rest and it's like he's back at the very beginning where he was when he had no money and the guy who has the MBA is telling him like, no, you need to like spend all your time doing this so that you get back to the same spot essentially. And so it's really like, what is it that you want to like spend your time focusing on and how do you bring that joy into your life, into each and every day? I think is the question that we ask ourselves because in the argument with the 4 hour work week, it's like people say like, oh, I can't travel because I have my career or I can only travel for these 2 weeks of the year because that's when my vacation is and I need a lot of money to be able to travel. But the person's arguing in the book, like you don't essentially, you can create these experiences with very little money if that is what you truly want to do. And so I think sometimes people are always like, oh, I'll do that when I retire. I'll do that when I retire. And so he talks about in this book having like mini retirements all throughout your life so that you're bringing that joy in and you're bringing that mindfulness in of like, how is it that I'm spending the majority of my time and am I bringing that joy into my life, those things that I would have pushed off until like maybe my health is completely shot by that time, right? And so you need to be thinking about what is it that you're bringing into your life, and then how is it that you're spending your time. And I think sometimes we focus so much on money as like our way to value wealth, but we forget about time, right? Are you time wealthy or are you not? And so people have asked me before, like, why do you still just teach? And I was like, because I want to be at home with my daughter as much as I possibly can. And so when I teach, I have the same hours essentially as my kid. And that's something that's really important to me. Like I could have gone off and gone into a career and probably been really successful in a different area, but having the same time off as my daughter and making sure that I have that quality time is really more important to me than any amount of wealth, because I'm not going to ever get this time back to spend with her. Right. And then I look at like, if she ever has kids, like, how would it be that I could set up my career, that I could support her as much as possible to be like a really good grandparent, right? Even though I'm like, my kid's only 14, but I'm like, how could I set it up so that whatever it is that I'm doing, and I'm really lucky with teaching that I could teach anywhere in the world, right? I could also sub and only work certain days a week, right? And so I would have the flexibility to be supportive in lots of different ways. And so I think sometimes we look at success as just money, and success isn't just money. It's your relationships. It's your time, right? How are you spending your time? I think that's something that we really need to think about when we talk about success.
I like that, Amanda, when you say you spend time with your daughter, you have the same hours. Even the same with me. I don't pay for childcare for somebody to look after my children. I'll always make sure that the hours that I work is the same hours. Like I go to the office and then in 12 I come home, and I'm just here when she comes home. I'm working from home. So I've always done that even with my oldest. If I leave my daughter, it has to be my next door neighbor because it's like their second family or family members. Other than that, with my daughter, she had her own child minder. Like if I have to go in the work in the morning, early mornings, then she should go and socialize just to help her not being with me all the time because I don't have a family. But other than that, I think success is we have to, it's not about money, it's about how you design your life that suits you at that moment. And I think that is really, really important to be able to design that life that you want. And also mapping your strength, Amanda, you mentioned that, and also have a clarity of why you are in that one line, and also like your purpose sustains effort through friction, and just do what you gotta do and not worrying about what people think. Because actually, for me, doing the broadcasting, actually, it has actually made me realize that there are some people that don't fulfill their destiny because of people can shut you up. It's like with my post, if I post something, I'll get to someone private, no, so you can't post that. Or if I choose a topic, sometimes I'll get someone saying you can't post that topic. And I'm thinking, what does these people think? It's like I'm like they're shutting people's dreams. If I wasn't strong enough, honestly, I don't think I would be even online. I would have left it online. Because even in the social services, when she came, she said, even with your talk show, people are complaining about your talk show. I was like, why are they complaining about my talk show? And she was like, you talk about God. And I was like, tell them to get a life, tell them to get a life, because when you don't have a life is when you look at someone, you're like, Why is that person doing that? Why is that person doing that? I said to her, that's my identity. I'm fasting and I'm praying. People have no idea the path that I'm taking. There will be times where I'm going to just walk into the hospital and say, give me the mortuary. And then I just say, God, who do you want to wake up? I was like, up, go. And then I just leave. So are they going to complain when someone is sick? And then I go and say, do you want healing? Are they going to complain that? So I was like, I'm going to be who I want to become because it's me who knows where my lane is, where I'm walking, the path that I'm walking. So if you don't understand the path that I'm walking, then you don't walk with me because you never understand it. So it's just knowing who you are. If you want to succeed in this world, you have to know who you are. This topic, Grant, is a very, very important topic that you've chosen. It has to be natural. And you can't let people tell you that your dreams are not big enough or your dreams are too small or whatsoever. You walk that path, you make a mistake, you pick yourself up and go and do it. And that's how I was raised. I was raised by two men, my dad and my stepdad. There is no time to feel sorry for yourself because the world is waiting for people who are willing to change the world, not to feel sorry for themselves. So thank you, Brenda, for the topic, by the way. You're muted. Grant, you're muted.
Sorry, folks. Yeah, one of the things I look at to help people, bringing this back to, the success made easy, to make success as easy as possible and to work within your own natural path. One of the things that I help people do is the EEP system, which is look at the area where you've got the most experience. Okay. Where do you have most experience? So just think of that now. So if you're listening out there, just look at your experience. Where is most of your experience? Let's say in your career, for example. Where is it? What have you spent most of the time doing? What are you experienced in? Just make a note of that. Now, it may be experience, but you don't like it. But there's a combination of three factors here. So one is experience. So list down all the things you've done, all the things you experienced with, and put them down. And next to it, I want you to write down your expertise. What are you really good at? What are you an expert at? List down the things that you are an expert at. Don't overthink it. Just do it. Okay. So one is experience, all the things you experienced at. Two is what you are an expert at. And if you're not an absolute expert, what are you better at than the other things? Okay. Replace that. And then once you've done that, what things are you passionate about? Okay. So it's experience, expertise, and passion. Now, you could do this as a pie chart. You could do it as a tick box. Which ones are lining up? What do you get a tick for all three? What things is it? If there's one or two areas that you're getting lit up on all those three criteria, that could really be your natural path. Okay? Because you've got experience at it for a reason. Hopefully because you liked it. Expertise because you have a flair for it. And passion. That's the thing that keeps you doing it all the time. And if you keep doing it, you will get better than other people, even if you're not naturally the most talented. I see people play guitar who did not start out as those talented guitar players, but they keep doing it because they're passionate about it. They have some experience at it. Okay. And all of these things come together, and that's when you start to become a really good operator of it. So what is it? What are those three criteria? And whatever the answer is, take that word and put it separately and make a list of all those things and see from one of those which is easiest for you. You may have a couple of things you're really good at. Some people are good at many things. Some people are hardly good at anything, but there's one that is stronger at that hits that criteria or almost hits that criteria more so than the others. Put a big circle around that one. Try it on for size and see how you'd feel if you focused mainly on that. How would your life change as a result? How would your output be better? How would you feel less tired because you're working in flow? How would you start making more money and it felt more effortless to do that? So, in other words, how could you make success come easily? And that's why I help people do it. Obviously, I do it for a longer period and coach people through it. But the emphasis is that. So, if you can take that away and work that out for yourself, you'll be on the right path. If you can't, of course, reach out to us because we've got ways of taking you through that in a coaching format to really bring that out of you. And that's what coaching is. It brings it out of you rather than dictates to you. So that's the way I'll do it, because if you can spend time doing that, or if you can get a coach to help you doing that, you will start to live a really happy life. You feel fulfilled. Things seem easy. It doesn't feel like work. It's fun. It's friendship. It's light. And you enjoy it and it enjoys you. And you start to get better. And when you hit those three criteria things, guess what? It tends to be out. You start getting good at it. And if you get good at it, you start getting paid more money for it, which means you probably don't have to work as hard to make the required amount of money because you're naturally good at it. Okay, so it's making life easier, you're doing less, you're achieving more and getting more fulfillment and more money too in many cases. So is it not worth exploring that? I think it probably is. What do you think, Amanda? What do you think? And what's your advice for people there?
Well, I think it's like you said, where even if you have like a job or a career, like what is it that you naturally like to do? Because then money will just flow to you easily, right? And so it'll
Yeah.
flow to you from multiple sources in increasing amounts as you just naturally follow your path. And so I think when we're naturally following our path, then we are attracting and we're raising our vibration to attract more positive things into our life. If we like, so much of life is how we choose to look at it, right? So we can't control what happens to us, but we can control how we react to it. And I just read a quote the other day that said like 90% of life isn't what happens to us, it's how we choose to react to it. And I was like, that's so important, especially right now, because I'm a teacher in Alberta, where I live in Canada. The entire province of teachers is on strike for like fair wages and classroom complexity. And so we're not getting paid right now. And so just like that stress is like, it's not. So I've been choosing to be like, okay, what can I focus on that's positive? And as a single mom, having no income for an unknown amount of time, it can be very stressful. And so I'm looking at it as like, how can I utilize my time as best as possible? And so I've been spending time creating and getting back to my creating things that I love to do, that sometimes when I get really busy at work, I don't do it as much. Sorry, my alarm's going off because it's 7 a.m. here. I just need to turn it off.
Yeah, I agree with you, Grant, that people need to know what they are good at, the things that they are good at. Amanda's back. You can carry on, Amanda.
I lost my train of thought because I forgot to turn off that
Okay.
alarm. It's early here. I've been choosing to focus on my creative things and what it is that I can control. And so I like reopened my Etsy shop because I haven't had done Etsy for a while. And one of the reasons why I stopped doing Etsy was because it was all about my art, and I would have to like go to the post office and and print off the things and then and ship them. And so I decided to reopen it, but only for digital products that are, which is similar to like my books on Amazon, where it just automatically does it because I want to like bring in income that's like passive, right? So passive in the way that like once it starts rolling, then it will just continue to bring in income. And so I've been trying really hard to like not worry about the stuff that I can't control, because all of the stuff that's going on with the government and with the teachers union, I have zero control over. All I have control over is how I spend my time during this strike. And I'm choosing to spend my time being as creative as possible and getting up early and still getting dressed and like spending the day pretending like I work at home and just focusing on being as creative as I possibly can. And so I've spent the last couple of days building like a Halloween activity book on Canva, just so that that's something that I can like send out and put on Etsy. And if people buy it, great. And if they don't, whatever, I had fun doing it, because it's my natural thing is to like create. And if I'm not creating, then I get in my head and I stress out. And so, but if I can focus on being creative and creating things, then it's like it's fulfilling, right? Whether this, and the very first book that I ever wrote was called It's Okay to Feel. And I have the more, I just redid all the pictures for it, but I have it here. And even when I wrote it, it was like, if it helps one kid, then it did its job, right? And so I loved creating it. I love learning how to create on Amazon and how to be a author on Amazon. And when I, even though I spent all this time doing it, I was like, really, it was fulfilling for me. It's like this really amazing hobby that I love to do. And if it brings in income, great. If it doesn't, it's the journey, not the destination, right? And so I think that's something that we sometimes forget and we get mixed up in, is it's like you're always looking at like that end goal, and if you don't get there by a certain amount of time, then you feel like less fulfilled. But if we learn how to fulfill our lives by like those daily moments, then life becomes more joyful and success feels more easily, that it just comes to you easily.
Good.
I love that. It's 8 minutes past 2, guys. I love that, Amanda. I love that. For me, guys, I just leave you with this based on what Grant and Amanda said. Create a relationship flywheel, and also craft your signature story, because that is really, really important. Your story will make your work memorable and referable, and people will not forget your story. Measure process, not just the outcome, and also have people that can give you feedbacks, like Grant said before. And stop worrying about people. Stop caring about what people think. And I'm saying this from the experience, guys, that I'm trying to work and people are trying to shut me up, trying to say, Nomsa, you can't be this, you can't be this. But what they don't know is that before I do anything in me, I go to God first. The Holy Spirit speaks. Nomsa, this is who you're supposed to be. So everything that I do, I don't do it because I just say, God, show me my destiny. Who am I supposed to be? If I have to pray for 1 month for God to reveal my true original destiny, then you understand. And some people might not even understand. Like when I was talking to that woman, she was like, who is your pastor? And then I gave her Dr. Olukoya. I was like, he's my pastor. Pastor James, Pastor Henry's pastor. He has worked with Lucifer since he was 4 years old. He would tell you every trick that Satan does to bind people down. So for me, I'm refusing to be bind down, to say I can't do this, I can't do this. I know if I practice something, if I put time on it, if I fall in love with that thing and just do the work, even when I don't feel like it, I just have to get up and do it, and I know I'll get the results that I need. But some people don't have that courage. Because they don't have that courage, they'll try to pin you down. So you have to decide whether you want to stay down or you want to get on with it. Over to you, Grant.
Okay. Well, I'm pretty much done. I'm pretty much done with the subject. I've just said to everyone what I think about it. You got the 3-step formula to find it out. And I think now it's down to you. But I would love to hear people out there try this and then see write in with their answers. I'd love to see what they've got. So if they can, if you can write in on all the social media channels where you're listening to this, under the show, just type it in. Let us know. Have you tried it and what was the results and how do you feel, most importantly, having arrived at that answer? That's what I'd love to know. And if we get the answers on that, we can talk about it next week. Okay, so it's down to you to take some action because we can talk about this all day long, but it's not about knowing, it's about doing. And that's down to you, my friends. So that's what I'd like to say in conclusion.
Thank you so much.
I love that, the knowing. It's not about knowing, it's about doing, right? And
Yeah.
that's one thing that I think we fail in school is like so much of it's focused on the knowing, not the doing part. And I think if people would feel so much more successful if it was focused on like doing. How do we
Yeah.
get it so that we use this knowledge in a meaningful way, right? So that doing piece is what makes people successful in all areas of careers.
Thank you so much, Amanda and Grant. And guys, if you're watching us from Facebook, we have two groups, Unique Billionaire Mindset and Nkositalkshows. Please do join those group and website. Go to the website, sign up if you need coaching. Go see www.hseia.coach. And please do sign up and for coaching, or if you're looking for love, there's 2 pages where you can sign up. And we will see you guys, Amanda and Grant will see you guys next week. I shall